Well, good morning everyone. Today we're starting with a little bit of outfit of the day. A lot of you guys have been asking me to revisit my outfits of the day a little bit, so today is the day because I wanted to show you this shirt dress that you have seen actually quite a few times on my channel, but you've never seen it in its full glory. It is a shirt dress which has these beautiful flower details, which are like these big yellow flowers and these big red flowers with a little bit of like that blue teal woven in. And it's actually, a lot of you have been thinking it's a shirt, it's actually a shirt dress, so it's quite long. It has a little belt that goes around here, but I'm going to show you the full outfit in a bit. I'm also going to, of course, pair this with a watch that matches, because my name is Mariam and I'm all about the matchy, of course. And of course, for jewelry, I'm going to use my trusty Ana Luisa jewelry. I'm going to show you how everything looks once I put it on, but I just wanted to show you the pieces. You guys know that Ana Luisa is a brand that I often partner with. They are a sustainable jewelry brand. They make silver as well as gold-plated pieces, and a lot of the pieces that I have from them, well, actually all of the pieces that I have from them are gold-plated. But today I'm going to wear these mini tiny ear climbers, and I'm actually going to put this ear climber in my second piercing, and I've already done that once and it looks really bomb. I'm going to put on this ring, which matches of course with the black color of the dress, and I'm going to pair these two together. You can wear them obviously separately, but a few days ago I actually wore them together on the same finger and I think it looked really cool. And to finish off the look with a delicious scent, today I'm going to be using my Miss Dior perfume. There's actually a specific reason why I want to be using this perfume. I found out that they reformulated this very recently, and the previous bottle that I had of this was actually the previous iteration of this perfume. And I did purchase this bottle only a few months ago with Black Friday, so I'm pretty sure this is the new reformulated version of it. Oh, hello Elizabeth. And I would like to study this new version a bit more in depth to make sure that I enjoy it as much as I did the older version. Theoretically, this sounds like an even better version of the Miss Dior that I had before, but you know what? I would like to make sure. Aren't you the sweetest? So guys, here you've got the whole outfit. Obviously, sans the shoes, I'm not going to wear these, I'm going to wear a pair of red heels. But this is the dress for you in its full glory. It's stunning, it has pockets, which is one of my favorite features about it. And it's just a beautiful, very comfortable piece, and I just love the combination of the colors. There's something about the combination of the colors with this dress that it's just mind-blowingly beautiful to me. Alright, I have put on my eyeshadow primer and my brows, but before we jump into the makeup, I just quickly wanted to show you how the two ear climbers from Ana Luisa pair together. So here you have the little teal ear climber as well as my like longer ear climber, and I think they just look so beautiful together. And this is how little dude looks like on its own. And I wanted to show you this other pair. If you wanted to have something that's much more flexible but has this shape, then I would highly recommend this pair. So these little guys, they're essentially the same shape, but they are much more flexible, you know, color, because you can literally wear these with anything. And also you can easily substitute the long ear climber for one of these together with the teal ones. That also looks really cute. So I just really love playing around with ear climbers, you guys. Lately ear climbers are my absolute newest obsession. And just to show you how the two rings pair together, look how cute that is. Isn't that adorable? Obviously you can just remove one of them and wear them individually. So this is the green one individually, and you've seen me wear this rope one already many times, because I've worn this ring to death, so much so that a lot of the gold plating unfortunately has worn off. But I just really like also how the two pair together. I love Ana Luisa's jewelry, I wear them all the time obviously, so I highly recommend checking them out. And they are going to be running their Mother's Day sale. If you're interested, I'm going to leave a link to their website in my description box, just in case you're curious to check it out. But last year I actually did a similar video in collaboration with them. I wanted to like talk about moms, so last year I talked about my favorite things about some of my favorite moms in my life. I'm going to, by the way, be starting on the makeup now, so I'm going to grab my Glow Lust by Auric. And I wanted to kind of continue on this tradition and talk a little bit more about mom stuff. But in fact today I wanted to maybe focus on talking about mom stuff that is not as much talked about, because it would be considered maybe more, not necessarily taboo, but just things that you're not supposed to say as a mom. And if you've been around my channel for any amount of time, you will know that I am not someone who sees the world through rose-colored glasses. I'm very much someone who is, you know, very realistic. I will always say things as they are. And when it comes to momhood, I have pretty much the same philosophy. I just think we should call a spade and not pretend like it's something else. For concealer, I'm going to be grabbing my Bendy Avocado Concealer from First Aid Beauty. I actually am getting the feeling now. Do you remember when I told you that Charlotte Tilbury powder was kind of drying out my skin? I think maybe the powder isn't the problem, maybe it was the concealer, because I have the feeling the last few weeks that the instant concealer from Clarins is kind of making my under eyes look very shriveled at the end of the day, whereas I don't have this effect with this concealer, and I actually prefer this concealer, but I wanted to finish the other one, so I've been focusing on it so much. I will try my best to finish that Clarins concealer, but I might actually call it quits before it is completely finished, especially if it turns out that it does very specifically dry out my under eyes, which are a very problematic area of my face for me. Anyway, so going back to talking about, you know, mom things that are not being talked about much. The first thing I wanted to address is something that I feel like so few people mention, but then when you talk to actual moms, I'm going to grab my Pat McGrath Labs foundation for a change, by the way. So many moms will actually tell you that they share on this opinion, and that is, you know how when we watch movies and then, you know, someone gives birth and then they have their baby and it seems like they're instantly in love with their baby, they instantly have a connection with their child, and they're instantly like head over heels in love with them. And that's not actually how it works for everyone in real life, and it was not how it worked for me. Don't get me wrong, I felt an instant connection, of course, to my son, because obviously he came out of me, I made him. But it's that very, very strange and bizarre feeling that you've been, you know, basically growing this individual who has been living rent-free in your womb for 9 months. And if you want to hear about my opinion on pregnancy, you can go back and watch one of my Pat McGrath ranking videos. I think the Divine Rose 1 video was the one where I talked about pregnancy, I'm not sure. But anyway, I talked very extensively about my experience being pregnant, giving birth, postpartum. If you want to watch that, I've talked about that very extensively on my channel before. But pregnancy was, again, one of those things that I didn't see through rose-colored glasses. It was more like, okay, I gotta take one for the team. Someone has to do it. So I did it. I did not really particularly enjoy it. But then, you know, they hand you this little person who basically like just poops, cries and eats and doesn't really do much more than that. So I found it very difficult to like have this like instant connection and falling in love. I'm going to set my face with the Charlotte Tilbury powder, by the way. I'm continuing to just experiment with it with different foundations and stuff. So I didn't really like, when he came out of me, I was like, oh god, is everyone aware that they've given me a newborn? Does it come with a manual? What the fuck am I supposed to do with it? It's turning red. What should I do? So basically it was like this very like foreign feeling of being responsible for this teeny tiny person who's completely dependent on me and that I don't really know. Like, maybe I'm just one of those people who needs to get to know someone in order to be really attached to them. So for me, that feeling of, you know, being in love with my child and having this very strong bond and connection with him was something that has come over time and over years, and as we have gotten to know each other, and it was definitely not like a click at first sight. And I've heard this more often from other people, that they also felt like, you know, there's this like teeny tiny foreign person all of a sudden living in their house, changing their lives and like completely throwing off their whole like routine in life. And the expectation based on unrealistic standards of society is that you're going to be instantly in love with your baby. And maybe you were one of those persons who was, I don't know, we all work differently. But I just wanted to mention that it is perfectly normal if you don't feel this instant connection, it's perfectly normal if it takes a little bit of time, and there's nothing wrong talking about it. For bronzer, I'm going to take my Nabla Skin Glazing, and I'm going to grab this little brush that I have from my Keyaki set, which is like a little like powder, bronzer, blush kind of brush, and I honestly never used it because I could never figure out what I like to use it best for. But I've started using it for powder bronzer, and I actually really like it that way. What else can we talk about? Alright, the second unpopular opinion I have about motherhood is that it is perfectly okay to call your child an asshole every now and then if they're being an asshole. And I don't mean that like in a very like serious way, like, oh, they're like horrible people. Toddlers really are the most horrible people in the world. They're like super selfish, they only think of themselves, they want things, and they have absolutely no idea that the world doesn't revolve around them. And yes, I'm perfectly aware of the fact that you can't really blame a toddler for being a toddler because they don't know any better. But I think as a human, most of all, it is perfectly normal for you to get frustrated with your progeny every now and then, and it's okay to call them an asshole. And I will give a personal example. Let's actually do the Nabla thing also for blush. I'm going to take my Nabla Skin Glazing in the shade Truth Now to put on my cheeks. And I just wanted to give you an example of what I mean when you get like super frustrated with your child. And you know, when you're with your partner or with your girlfriends, obviously not to their face, you can call them an asshole. For example, my son has always been a little bit more difficult when it comes to food. Not super difficult in the sense that he doesn't eat anything, but already when he was very small, he was always very suspicious of everything new you give him. He doesn't have that like innate curiosity of a foodie to immediately be curious about what you're eating and really want to try it. Like, his initial response to most foods are, I'm not putting that in my mouth. Unless it's something with chocolate and sugar, then he has no problems. His diet right now is extremely limited. He basically eats a variety of different soups, so that's the only way I can get vegetables into him. If I have like mashed a variety of things in the form of a soup. And let's stay committed. I'm going to also take my Nabla Skin Glazing in the shade Privilege as my highlighter today. So he's just been getting like, he's had periods in his existence where the only thing he would eat would be basically a peanut butter sandwiches and soup, and he would refuse anything else. He does not eat meat unless it's like in a pasta sauce, like bolognese sauce. That is the only meat that he eats. He doesn't really eat a lot of other things, and the thing with him is that he doesn't really like get better over time. He just kind of like yo-yos between eating pretty okay and eating pretty poorly. And the thing is that I'm someone who really enjoys food. My husband also really enjoys food, and neither of us were particularly difficult when it comes to, well, I think it's a lot of it has to do with parents forgetting about how difficult their kids were with food. I feel like I was more difficult than my parents remember, but anyway, I don't know that I was ever as difficult as my son is. So for instance, there have been many occasions on which I come up with a meal and I think he's really going to enjoy it. And then I slave for a couple of hours in the kitchen, and by a couple of hours I really mean like at least 2 or 3 hours to make him a proper wholesome meal, because I want him to, you know, get all the things he needs to grow up. And then upon offering him the meal, the worst thing he has done is gag and like basically throw up things that he doesn't want to eat because he doesn't like. You tell me that I'm not entitled to call him an asshole when he does that. And I'm sure everyone has their own examples of like things that they get frustrated with by their kid, but I am pretty chill about most other things, like him taking some time to learn how to use the toilet, or him refusing to poop on the toilet, which is still a problem that we have. He has no issues peeing, but pooping for some reason is out of the question. He prefers to do that in his diaper. Like, things like this don't really bother me. I'm like, he'll be fine, you know. I've not seen an 18-year-old who still poops in their diaper. He'll figure it out. But things like, you know, me making such an effort to offer him wholesome, you know, healthy food, and him gagging on me is something that really gets my blood boiling. And you know, on days like this, I feel perfectly fine telling my bestie or my husband that my son is an asshole and I'm really angry with him, and that's fine. So today's going to be quite of like a mishmash, pish-posh, I don't know whether that's the correct, you know, context to use this, of eyeshadow palettes and things that I want to do, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to turn out, but let's cross our fingers and hope for the best. The first thing I'm going to do is take my little single here in statuesque to carve out my crease a bit. And maybe the very last thing that I wanted to speak about a little bit that I feel like people have a misconception or they don't really talk a lot about is this misconception that when you become a mom, you basically have to lose all of your other identities. You're a mom and that's it. All you need to worry about is your kid, and you are not really allowed to have your individuality anymore. I feel like there's like a lot of false expectations and misconceptions when it comes to that, and I am someone who is actually a proponent of the polar opposite of that opinion. I think that when you become a mom, you should really work hard to remain who you are, remain your own person and your own individual, because it's really important for you to set an example to your child that you know you're a person with your own interests, with your own life, with your own aspirations, and they should strive to be like you. Because I feel like if you get lost in being a mom, then your whole existence becomes about your child and you become this really like, sorry, probably some of you are going to be offended, I don't care. You become, I think, a really boring person, someone who is not aspirational in any sort of way, because if you are just a mom, then you're nothing else. I want to just slightly deepen up the crease now, so I'm going to grab my Bronze Temptation 6 pan, and I'm just going to take the somewhat deeper brown shade, and I'm going to try to fluff that into the crease without really making it too intense, because for a change today I actually want to wing a liner. So I'm going to just take this shade and try to apply it in small increments to intensify the crease a bit, but without really getting it to the point where it's too dark. So something like this I think is more than sufficient for the look that we're going for today. And I really think it doesn't make you a bad mom to, you know, want to retain your individuality. So those were my hot takes on momhood. Maybe I have more, but I can't think of any right now. So for now we're just going to focus a little bit more on the makeup, because I actually need to get a little bit more speed in what I'm doing, because I need to get to work at some point. But I would be very curious to hear what you think about all these things that I mentioned and what your hot takes on being a mom are. Next I'm going to take my glitter glue from NYX and just apply that all over my lids. And then I'm going to grab my other Opulence 6 pan from Pat McGrath. This is the Dark Star one. And I'm going to go into a shade that I don't really use that often, but I actually really like. And that is this shade over here, which is called, I want to say Rapture or Enrapture or something of the sort, Enraptured. Yes, and it's this beautiful gold that I sort of rediscovered a few years ago when I think Pat reposted on her Instagram a look that someone had done on Millie Bobby Brown, and she was wearing this specific shade of gold, and I was like, oh, that looks really pretty, why am I not using this shade? And then I put it on and I was like, well, isn't that stunning? I mean, isn't that stunning? And since then I've really enjoyed using this gold on occasions, because it has a little bit of like mutedness to it, a bit of like that deeper honey tone, and it's just, I don't know, I think it's such a classy gold. On my inner corner I'm just quickly going to pop the champagne shade that comes in this palette, and then we're going to do a tiny bit of layering. Now, because I have these like little red-ish elements onto my dress, and I think I want to wear a red lipstick, I would like to add a little bit of like that fiery warmth into the look. So I'm going to grab the Voyeuristic Vixen Quad, and I'm going to take a few specks of Rosefire Nectar here, and I'm just going to try to very gently layer that over top of Enraptured to add a little bit of that, you know, fiery warmth, but without taking too much away from Enraptured. Like, this is enough. Next, for the truly shocking part of this video, I'm going to be busting my Inglot gel liner in the shade 77, and I'm going to put a little bit of Duraline in it, which is the mixing medium from Inglot, because my 77 gel liner is, I don't know, going on to a decade old, I want to say, and it really is super fucking dried out, so I need to revive it a little bit, and Duraline always does the trick. So now I'm going to be really focused on doing my liner, and you should all like keep your fingers crossed that I don't fuck it up. Okay, I feel like as out of practice as I am, this is as good as it's going to get, and I'm pretty satisfied with the result. So now we're going to do the fun bit with the lower lash line. I'm first going to take this Kiko eyeshadow stick in the shade 11, and it's basically like a little like teal blue moment, because we're going to do a teal blue lower lash line. I'm going to put that in my waterline and just very gently on my actual lower lash line. And then I'm going to use a small brush like this one to just lightly smudge out, and it's probably not going to come as a surprise to anyone that the eyeshadow we're going to go into is Lapis Luxury. Now, I have this eyeshadow as a single as well as in my Decadence palette. Most of you will probably have it in your Decadence palettes. And I'm going to basically retrace what I did with the Kiko eyeshadow stick. I'm just going to apply this in my waterline and then start to lightly apply it onto my lower lash line. I am so not used to seeing myself with a winged liner anymore. It is bizarre. Anyway, it is pretty much SOP by now that when I wear this dress, I always pair it with Dragon from Lisa Eldridge, because it kind of has the matching color to the flowers on my dress. So yeah, by default we had to use this lipstick somehow into the look, and I'm happy to say that because of how subdued the gold on the lid is, the pop of blue also being relatively subtle plays up with the dress really well, and we have all these like matching elements on the dress. This is not too much, because a look like this could easily be too much, but I feel like we achieved a good balance. I hope you agree with me. I hope you enjoyed this look. I'm super curious to hear about your hot takes on motherhood. Don't forget to check out Ana Luisa's Mother Day sale. I'm sure that there's always a mom out there who needs to be made happy with a little jewelry pressy. As usual, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!